Love is in the air on Coronation Street as the ITV soap casts Todd Grimshaw's next love interest. The unlucky-in-love Cobbles resident was most recently linked to Theo Silverton in an emotionally and physically abusive relationship that culminated in Theo's murder. Sarah Platt has been arrested and charged with the crime, with Todd supporting his friend, who also happens to be one of his former lovers. A former Corrie star is set to return to Weatherfield more than 15 years after first appearing in the show, and sparks are set to fly with Todd. Chris Graham's son first starred in the soap as a church pastor who led the choir that became integral in Sophie Webster's coming-out storyline. At first, the pastor condemned Sophie and Sion Power's relationship, eventually learning to accept them and inviting them back to join the choir after banishing them from the group. Now, the actor is set to return to Corrie as Fraser, the driver of Frances Barber's character Celeste, who arrives on the cobbles looking for her niece, Bernie Winter. Fraser wastes no time making friends, hitting it off with barmaid Glenda and capturing the attention of Todd. But could friction between Glenda and Todd mean that his relationship with Fraser gets off to a rocky start? In scenes set to air next week, Glenda and Todd clash as she confronts him about his spiraling alcoholism. After a night on the town with Christina Boyd, she tells Glenda and Mary Taylor how much Todd has been drinking, which forces Glenda to have words with him. She warns Todd that if his behavior continues, he will be left with no friends, which enrages Todd as he feels humiliated. Todd Grimshaw could be heading into another major romantic storyline on Coronation Street, with the Weatherfield resident potentially finding himself drawn into a new relationship that could change his life once again. Todd has never been a character who has found love particularly easy. His romantic history has been filled with complicated emotions, unexpected betrayals, and relationships that have often left him questioning what he really wants. Now, as his life continues to evolve, viewers may be ready to see a different side of Todd, one where he gets the chance to build something genuine. The big question, however, is who could become Todd's next love interest. Todd has already experienced some unforgettable romances during his time on the cobbles. His relationship with Billy Mayhew became one of his most significant recent storylines, but their complicated history eventually left Todd facing another emotional crossroads. Rather than simply repeating the same pattern, a new romance could give Todd an opportunity to start again. A potential new love interest could arrive in Weatherfield as someone completely unexpected. Instead of immediately becoming a romantic partner, the newcomer could first develop a friendship with Todd. That would allow their connection to grow naturally before either character realizes that their feelings have become something deeper. For Todd, that could be particularly important. He has spent years trying to protect himself emotionally, sometimes using confidence, humor, or even manipulation to hide what he is really feeling. A new relationship could force him to confront those habits. At first, Todd might insist that he is not looking for anything serious. He could claim that he is perfectly happy concentrating on his own life, career, and friendships. But the arrival of someone who genuinely understands him could make that difficult to maintain. The potential love interest could also be someone who refuses to be impressed by Todd's charm. That could create plenty of dramatic moments. Todd is used to knowing how to handle difficult situations, but someone who can see through his confident exterior could leave him unusually vulnerable. Instead of playing games, this person might challenge Todd to be honest about what he wants. That would give the storyline a different tone from some of Todd's previous relationships. Rather than making the romance entirely about jealousy or betrayal, Coronation Street could explore Todd learning how to trust someone again. There could be awkward first dates, misunderstandings, and moments when Todd nearly walks away because the relationship becomes too serious. But beneath all the drama would be a much more emotional question: can Todd finally allow himself to be happy? His friends could quickly notice that something has changed. Todd might become more distracted, disappear for mysterious evenings, and suddenly start paying much more attention to his appearance. Naturally, this could lead to speculation around the street, particularly if Todd refuses to reveal who he has been spending time with. A secret romance would be a perfect way for the soap to build suspense. Viewers could initially see only small clues. Todd might receive mysterious messages on his phone, smile at someone across the street, or suddenly make excuses to leave the Rovers. The audience would gradually discover that he has been meeting somebody away from the cobbles. The identity of this person could then become the center of the storyline. And once the truth comes out, Todd could face an entirely different problem. Not everyone may approve of his new relationship. Todd's complicated history means that people around him could have strong opinions about his latest romance. Some could worry that he is moving too quickly, while others might question whether the new arrival can really be trusted. Todd, meanwhile, could become increasingly determined to prove that this relationship is different. That determination could ultimately create tension. The more people question the romance, the more defensive Todd becomes. Instead of listening to those closest to him, he might insist that they simply do not understand what he and his new partner have. That could lead to a familiar mistake, Todd putting the relationship before the people who care about him. But there is also the possibility that the new love interest could have secrets of their own. Weatherfield rarely welcomes a newcomer without complications, and Todd's next partner could arrive with a hidden past. Perhaps they have unfinished business elsewhere, or perhaps someone from their past could suddenly appear on the cobbles. Todd could initially refuse to believe the worst. After everything he has experienced, however, viewers would understand why he might become suspicious. A series of unexplained phone calls could make him question whether his new partner is being honest. Then, just when Todd believes he has discovered the truth, he could find himself facing an even bigger revelation. That would create a classic Corey dilemma. Does Todd walk away before he gets hurt, or does he give this person a chance to explain? The storyline could also provide an opportunity to show how much Todd has changed. The Todd of the past might have responded to heartbreak by running away or manipulating the situation. A more mature Todd could instead choose to confront the problem directly. That doesn't mean everything would suddenly become easy. In fact, the emotional tension could make the storyline even stronger. Todd could finally admit that he is scared of falling in love because he does not want to experience another painful breakup. His new partner could then reveal that they have similar fears. That conversation could become one of the relationship's defining moments. For perhaps the first time, Todd would realize that vulnerability is not necessarily a weakness. There could also be plenty of lighter moments. Todd trying to impress his new love interest, only for everything to go hilariously wrong, would fit naturally into the show's mix of drama and humor. A disastrous date at the bistro, an accidental encounter with an ex, or an embarrassing misunderstanding in the Rovers could all provide classic Weatherfield chaos. But the biggest test could arrive when Todd's past comes back to haunt him. Someone from his previous relationships could return or become involved in his life again, forcing Todd to confront feelings that he thought he had already dealt with. That could create an emotional triangle without necessarily turning the new romance into a simple battle between two people. Todd would have to decide what kind of future he actually wants. Does he continue looking backwards, or does he finally choose something new? For viewers, that could be the most interesting aspect of the storyline. Todd Grimshaw has been through plenty of relationship drama, but his next romance does not have to be another story about heartbreak. It could instead become a story about growth, trust, and discovering that happiness does not have to be complicated. Of course, Coronation Street is unlikely to let Todd enjoy a peaceful romance for very long. Even if the relationship begins beautifully, there would almost certainly be another obstacle waiting around the corner. A secret could emerge. An ex could return. A friendship could be damaged. Or Todd himself could make a decision that puts everything at risk. The key will be whether Todd has finally learned from his past. If he has, his next relationship could become one of his most important storylines yet. And if he has not, viewers could be heading for another spectacular Weatherfield disaster. Either way, Todd's potential new love interest has the opportunity to bring something fresh to his story. A carefully developed romance could allow the character to explore emotions that have rarely been placed at the center of his story while giving the soap another compelling relationship to follow. For now, the identity of Todd's next romantic partner remains a tantalizing question. But if Coronation Street decides to give Todd a new love story, viewers can expect it to come with plenty of secrets, emotional twists and unexpected complications. Because on the cobbles, finding love is rarely the difficult part. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.